I'm Lisa from Modern Quilt Club and I am here to talk to you about Mystery Quilt. Currently we're doing Sparkle and Shine and we'll be sewing up Clue 2 very soon. But I just wanted to do a quick video about your seam allowance because I noticed a few people commenting in the main group and in our group about maybe struggling a little bit with your 1/4 inch or scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. So I know in the instructions this time they're maybe slightly different to how Sheila's done them in the past, where I believe this time she's just sewing 2 pieces of fabric together just for you to measure the seam allowance and measure the overall size of your finished piece. In the past she's actually done it where you sew 3 pieces together. So I'm just going to show you quickly that method on my machine, and hopefully my measurements will come out correctly and you can see how to test your seam allowance. I did just do a piece earlier on and it was wrong, but then I realised that my actual pieces weren't cut quite accurately, so if they're not cut accurately to start with, you're going to struggle. But each of these pieces I've got measure 2 inches wide. I'm not bothered about the length of them, it's just so that I've got a piece to sample with. So I'm just going to run them under the machine using what I believe my machine's scant 1/4 inch seam is, and then I'll just show you how I press them and measure them to test it. Okay, so looking at my seam allowance there, I don't know if you can see that quite clearly, but it actually looks like maybe more than I would like for a scant 1/4 inch, but I'll do the other side and then I can measure them and that'll give me a guide as to whether I need to make it narrower or if it is actually in fact okay. And I'm just using alternating colours just to make it easy for measuring, which I will show you once I've got this final piece on and pressed. Okay, so for the purposes of this little exercise, it doesn't matter which way I'm pressing, but I'm just going to set my seams and then just gently nudge the 2 outer pieces facing out. Okay, and then I'm going to grab my ruler and what I'm looking for is these pieces were originally 2 inches wide, and what should happen is, because I've sewn with a 1/4 inch seam, the middle one should end up being 1.5 inches. So if I look there, I don't like to do it from the edge of the ruler because I like to be able to see the ruler lines on the seams, but yeah, I would say that that's actually spot on, and maybe just fractionally off here. So what I would say then is that maybe just by not even a thread's width, they just want to be a little bit narrower. So as I'm putting those under my machine, my needle needs to be just to the right of the stitching line that it is now. But to be honest, you know, that's not far off at all. It's almost spot on, I would say. But if you're going for a true scant, the reason is that you've obviously got 2 layers of fabric, and what you're doing is when you press it to one side, you are creating, you know, even that section where there's just a row of stitches does create just a little ridge, and it takes away from your seam allowance, which, you know, doesn't create a lot, but if you've got lots of seams all together, it will eventually shrink your overall size, and you know, that's why Sheila says to go for a scant 1/4 inch rather than maybe an over generous 1/4 inch, because it will detract from the overall size. And I think the key to it is just to maybe test it each time you do a new block, because they're only a month apart. But for instance, this month I've actually done a bit of dressmaking and I've been doing Sheila's other quilt, and it's done a lot of zigzag applique, so I know that I've changed my stitch length, I've actually changed my needle, So, you know, settings have been changed on my machine. So it's worthwhile just taking 2 minutes just to test it each time. Okay, thank you then. Bye bye.